Yo, 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 this is the Misguided Podcast where we intend to guide you to a better future. My name is Juwan. I'm sitting here with Roland, Assange. Did I pronounce that right?
Osage.
Osage. I knew it. It's always going to happen.
It doesn't matter.
East Bay Realtor. And I feel like we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
Probably about 2 years now, just kind of in passing and on social media. And now we finally get to meet each other. So this is going to be fun.
I know. I was just saying when we were walking up, it's cool we get to meet each other in real time while filming.
Yeah. Well, obviously I knew your mom. So that was great. And then honestly didn't know you guys were mom and son until after she left.
Oh, interesting.
So that was very cool to find out. We can get to that too as well. I typically like to start the podcast with how I met you. Yeah. And obviously your mom, Lydia. Shout out to Lydia. Yep. She worked at Twin Oaks and was one of the top agents here. Yeah. And I got to tell you a funny story about her. But Lydia was really smart and really looked up to her, and then found out she was leaving to start her own company. And then when she had posted the photo, I was like, wait, that guy looks familiar too. I think I follow him. Right. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's the same. I didn't even know.
Yeah. Put it together. What?
I was like, what? And I was like, I kept seeing him on social media. That's gonna be a really good dynamic right there. You guys teaming up, and obviously you guys have been killing it since. So that's how I was introduced to you. Yeah. I don't know. You were probably just introduced to me.
No, I mean, the same thing, man. I think I always just follow people on social media. Obviously, a lot of real estate agents is a big one, but I always just like to engage with people that just who I admire. You know what I mean? I feel like in this industry, you really see the people who hustle and just the ones that don't. So I always just like to just engage, and obviously I could be better at, for sure, just meeting up with people in person. Mm-hmm. But I think obviously social media makes it easy for us to get to know each other without taking that next step. So I just appreciate being here, and you reaching out to me just means a lot to me.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate you coming. I know it takes some time out of the day. Yeah. Hopefully we get some cool clips from it. So funny story about your mom at the gala. The Twin Oaks does a year-end gala. And me and my wife talk about it all the time, but she was there along with her, husband or is that your dad? Stepdad. Yeah. Okay. Super cool guy. Yeah. And what we always remember was Lydia was just winning every award. Literally, I think she went home with 7 awards. Right. And we were every 2 minutes was stand up,
another one.
But the stepdad, he was the number one cheerleader. Yeah. Take a glass of champagne. Yeah. He was the number one fan.
That's awesome.
And my wife was that's really cool to see. She was that's so cute. Yeah. And every time we talk about it, we remember that. Yeah. So shout out to
She was definitely sad to leave. It was tough because I've been licensed 7 years in December this month.
Nice.
And she's been licensed about 3 years. And when she started, at the time I was running a media company very similar to 3i Media. So it's funny that you talk about businesses that didn't work, and we could get into that. But it was always kind of the plan for us to work together eventually. Mm-hmm. I was so busy at that time with trying to juggle 2 different businesses. And I was I just know that if I bring her on now, she's not going to get anywhere near what she needs as a brand new agent. Mm-hmm. That's why always hats off to Twin Oaks. I always, when it's not a good fit for the brokerage that I'm with, Twin Oaks is up there with the brokers that I recommend, just because they have such great systems and good leadership.
I will agree, because I was with another brokerage prior, and coming to Twin Oaks, I love the feel. I love the family atmosphere. I love how it's so diverse. We got the older agents who's been in business for 32 years. We got the new agents who's hustling, right? And then I was just super family oriented. A lot of people have kids. It's small. It's not too big, to where the training is online course. You know what I mean? So it's been great experience. But I had no idea your mom was in real estate less than you. She was killing it.
Really wild. I mean, honestly, it's one of those things where you're what the hell am I doing wrong? Yeah. You know what I mean? I have a 19-month-old, so that year she was just going crazy. I was slower. I mean, obviously you have a newborn, you're figuring things out. But absolutely, it was one of those things where you're sales is a wild thing. Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And life experience can play a huge part in sales, regardless of time in the game. I just think she built up a lot of those life experience, and I had different, she did network marketing for a long chunk of her life and things like that really helped her
for sure
in sales. And then some people's ability to retain things is super impressive too.
For sure.
So those year 1, year 2, just wild how much business she did so naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, enough about Lydia.
Yeah, right.
Lydia, come on up here, okay? We'll get you up here. But today's about you. So tell me a little bit about, like, where'd you grow up and then how'd you even get into real estate?
Yeah, so born in Martinez, and then raised here in Benicia. So moved here when I was about 3.
Where?
Like what part of Benicia?
Benicia?
Yeah, so off Panorama. So kind of near the middle school a little bit.
I'm right up there.
Yeah. Beautiful area. I mean, Benicia in general. It's like one of those cities you grow up, those towns you grow up in, and you're like, man, it sucks here. There's nothing to do.
Yeah.
But
did you go to Benicia Middle and High School?
Yep.
Wow.
I actually went to Liberty.
Oh, you went to what? Why Liberty?
So I was pretty behind in school, and then they were basically like, hey, he's got to go to Liberty. He can come back. You know, he can get once he gets caught up, he can come back and graduate here. So I went there my junior year, and they were like, you know, you're so ahead here now, you could graduate early, or you can go back. I'm like, I'm getting out.
That's not even.
And I was like, you know, I did some research. Like, is it gonna make any difference, you know, on like applications and things like that? And they're like, you know, Liberty, they don't say that it's a continuation school. It's just Liberty High School.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's the difference?
That's cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So school was never my thing.
And now look, you don't even use it.
Right. And I mean, it's funny too. You go, and I'm sure you too. It's like you grow up with a lot of people who, you know, really super smart people, college degrees, and they're still trying to figure out what they want to do. You know what I mean? So college isn't for everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, grew up in Benicia, and then bought my first house when I was 19.
What?
Yeah, with my brother. So had some help. It was actually my mom's idea.
But okay, well,
I'll get into it real quick. It was a super lucky situation. Unlucky for a family member of mine, they were getting foreclosed on. Okay. So we had to basically put, at the end of the day, about $10,000 down between my brother and I.
That's cool. Were you working? You had
2 jobs. Cool. Working at Safeway and Panera.
Nice.
Eventually Panera and Black Bear Diner in Walnut Creek. So, you know, serving tables, doing the double shift thing. I did a semester junior college, and I was like, dude, I'm done. I kind of stopped.
CCC or what?
Yeah, at Solano Community College. And then what kind of happened was like that opportunity for the house came up, and I was like, I can't go to school, work these 2 jobs, and then, you know, have enough money to have now a mortgage payment and things like that. Mm-hmm. So house hacked with my brother and another roommate for a long, long time. And that's kind of what got me into real estate. I saw one day how much my house had gone up. And this was in 2011. So like looking at like 3 years down the road, saw how much my house had gone up. And I was like, I haven't done a single thing to this house. And it's worth this much versus this much. Yeah. So that's what kind of got me into.
Where was the location?
Martinez. So I'm still in the same house. Yeah.
What? How many bedrooms and baths?
It's a 3-bed, 1 bath.
And what'd you buy at?
Technically bought it about $350.
$350.
Yeah.
And what's it worth like today?
Probably $700. Yeah.
Is it paid off yet?
No, not paid off. We did a cash out refinance right before the pandemic.
That's the smarter move, guys.
Bought a duplex in Vallejo with that, and then my brother went there for a little bit, and then
house hacking.
Yep.
Number one thing. I didn't even know you had a brother. How old is your brother?
He's almost 3 years older than me.
Okay, and how old are you?
I'm 31.
31.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm 30.
Nice.
So that means you graduated in high school in 2011.
11, yep.
Okay, I'm 12. You graduated early.
Yeah.
And then you did so you bought a house. That's just like a crazy way to start to like get into real estate. And then it also seems probably rushed because foreclosure, it's like, hey, we're foreclosing, you know.
It was one of those things where she was foreclosing. We were able to get the loan modified. So that was the big difference. That was why we didn't have to, you know, put like a serious down payment and things like that. Super unlucky for that family member, but at the end of the day, we got to save it.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
and now you have like a educational story to tell, right, on both sides. How to avoid the foreclosure situations, how to even buy with foreclosures if you're working with investors. So that's really cool. So bought the house. You're living in it with your brother for how long, and what are you doing work-wise?
So work-wise, same thing, serving tables, basically just food industry, whatever you want to call it, service industry in that sense.
Hustle industry?
Gotcha. Saving as much money as I could. I got to the point where I saved about probably $20,000, I would say. Okay. And the lady that modified the loan on that house was really big in flipping. Okay. So I hit her up and said, "Hey, I want to do what you do."
What year is this around?
This is probably. So I got licensed about a year after that. So that was probably 2017, 2018. Okay. Yeah. And started first real estate deal was a flip that I did with her. So 50-50, I did all the putting up the money.
Nice.
And basically learned, from her experience.
Pay for a mentorship through like real life.
So did one more with her, then I did a third on my own. After that first flip, that's when I got licensed, but I didn't really practice until about 2019, 2020, and then helped my friend buy a house, and then it was over from there.
What made you want to get licensed? To save money on the flipping?
A little bit, but I also was to learn, because she had all this knowledge, right? And it was so hard for me to keep up, in terms of like the terminology and all this different stuff. So in my mind, I was like, I think if I get licensed,
interesting,
totally backwards, right? Because you know how it is. You don't learn anything until you really like practice in this industry.
Yep.
So it was really just to understand everything better. And then I was like, oh yeah, I can sell my house. And then if I want to help somebody buy, make a little money there. It was just kind of really just like learning another skill in a sense.
That's cool. Are you still close with her?
Well, not as much,
but it ended good.
Yeah,
cool.
We still, kind of social media, same thing.
Cool.
Yeah, when she needs some content help, she'll hit me up, things like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting story, and that's kind of like unique, because a lot of the people are just like, oh, like my mom that did it, or like, I really didn't want to work a 9-to-5 situation, which probably is true for you too. Like,
sure,
you didn't want to be in the restaurant business forever, but okay, so. Became a realtor what year exactly?
I want to say 2018.
2018
is when I got So if I just hit year 7, probably end of 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long did it really take you to get like off the ground? You said you sold your friend a house, but like how was that first year and how was that second year?
Yeah, first year, second year was dog shit. Like for real. It's like lining yourself with the right brokerage, just like, well, I guess we're talking about Twin Oaks, like it's so important.
Yeah.
Super, super important.
I better get a sponsorship by this.
Right. But yeah, it was horrible. You just, you're looking online, you're trying to find these things that, aren't really working. So I would say year 3 is when I got more consistent. But
okay, let's go back though.
Yeah.
Who'd you start with?
I started with a friend of the flipper who was just a broker. No agents under him. Honestly, kind of a part-time broker.
Was it like an EXP team?
No,
like
not even that. Like literally his own own, and it was just him.
Okay.
Not the best person to learn from.
Got you.
You know what I mean? I was there for maybe 6 months. Yeah, did my first deal there, which I got, sourced myself. Then I went to a boutique brokerage out of San Francisco called Bayarearealestate.
Okay.
And they got me into like the online lead generation.
Okay.
They were with, they had a Realtor.com account, things like that. So it just taught me a whole other side of real estate. Didn't start doing video and things like that till probably, year 3. But Bayarearealestate, then went to EXP, and then now at Real.
What made you leave EXP to Real?
The culture is just totally different. Best way I could put it is the
reality TV show.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to cut you off, but that was going to be my next question.
Yeah. It's both companies are great. A lot of companies are great in this industry, but when I saw what Real was doing, and I always felt like Real kind of took into consideration the negatives about EXP, and then said we're gonna go the opposite of that. So I wasn't into like the mass recruiting. I wasn't into the very, when it comes to, I'm sure you've heard all this downlines and all that type of stuff. EXP was very, if you went in the wrong downline, you can't sit with us. If you're in another downline, with Real, it's just exact opposite. So that was enough for me, but I really liked the people that I was joining up with and what they were building.
Real brokerage, correct me if I'm wrong, does 90-10?
85-15 with a 12,000 cap.
12,000? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Damn.
And it's very similar to EXP, where they're at 16,000 cap, I think, and I think they're probably 80-20, 80-15, something like that, 85-15.
Okay, but 85 is the max you can.
No, you get 100% after that cap.
But like 80 without the cap.
Starting off until you cap 85-15. Okay. 15 is gonna from every check, 15% is gonna go to the brokerage. So
like some maybe have like a, if you've been here for
sliding
10 years.
Scale. Yeah.
So, that's interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah. No. I guess my next question was going to be like, because you said the first 2 years were hard, and there's a lot of new agents now, especially since COVID. I'm a COVID agent, right? So like, that atmosphere has obviously shifted the way real estate is. And I'm sure you've seen it in the 7 years. So my question would be like, what do you think of these reality TV shows that are popping up every day?
I think some of them are going to be great. I think I was pretty into Ryan Serhant's new one. I think Ryan Serhant, he just has obviously what it takes to create good television.
And he reminds me of you, man. Like on camera, like he just loves it. He loves, you could tell he loves what he's doing. He's very personable.
Yeah.
Which I get that vibe from you a lot. He's, and you know he knows his stuff, and he just won't quit. Like he won't take no for an answer. Right?
I think he's a perfect example of someone, and I'm sure you've read his books and listened to his stuff, where like when he first got that, I don't know, Selling New York, whatever it was, very, very green. So he really had to live up to the expectation, and that's like kind of going back to what we talked about with my mom. It's like some people out the gate will just be swinging, and some of us takes a little time to figure it out.
Which is fine. Yeah. Guys, that is totally fine. Yeah. I mean, in my first years of real estate, I'll tell you a little bit about kind of how I started was I started with Fly Homes, which is like Redfin 15 years ago.
Okay.
So during COVID, Fly Homes was like created in 2015, and they started like the cash programs, right? So obviously the cash programs, everyone does it now. Everyone has it. But like Fly Homes was the like for the first time buyers, hey, you can purchase this home with cash. Here's a program that we have, etc. And then they also had the buy before you sell program. Yeah. They were doing that in 2015.
Wow.
COVID hit.
Too ahead of their time.
Yeah, COVID hit and everyone just started doing it, right? And they were still succeeding because they had already been doing it. Anyway, long story short, I had a friend who worked there, and he was like, man, hey, they pay salary. And they give bonus checks. They're throwing out money right now. Like, you should come join if you want to be a new agent and learn, right? The best thing when you're starting is learn and having a team around you. Yeah. It's like, okay, I got my friend. They got good, like, training, and I get a salary, and I don't have to bring any leads. What the hell?
Yeah.
Cool. So joined Fly Homes and got paid really good.
Nice.
And the thing that sucked was, like, every time you close a home, you get like a small bonus. It was like $2,000. They had like levels to it, so I think the max was like you get like $2,700, right? And that was cool, not knowing like a real agent's check, right? So they don't show you that, right? So I'm thinking like, oh, every $2,000, and they're bringing in the leads. I don't have to hit up cold call my friends and family. So I really, really like that. But the way they worked is they split one realtor. So me and you, one realtor, we do everything from A to Z unless we hire a virtual agent or whatever. You do everything. Show homes, you do the paperwork, you do the audits and review all the documents and stuff like that. They split it into like 3 different jobs. You had tour specialists. I think some other brokerages do this as well, where if you're a new agent, you're going to be a tour specialist. Yeah. You got to work your way up. There's like 3 different levels to tour specialist. And then you get promoted to an actual realtor who does like the paperwork. Right? You never meet with the clients unless you want to.
Wow.
You're literally behind a screen. You do home buyer consultations. And then the next one is like maybe the audit team, right? And where you do the file review. Yeah. So that was kind of cool. Learning as like I think of it like an Amazon package, right? You learn in steps. They didn't throw everything all at you at once. Really love that. And then, pandemic starts to come. And because we're salary, they start laying people off. And I've told this story many a times, so I'll keep it short. But that's one of the reasons what made me join Twin Oaks was they did a layoff in July. And then I made the cut. And I was like, I know a recession
See the writing on the wall.
Coming. Yeah. Once they hear the word recession, they're going to do more. So let me prepare. I start calling brokerages.
Super smart.
One of them was EXP, too MLM-ish for me. Yep. All they cared about was just getting me on the team. And then called Keller Williams. Didn't really like the atmosphere, I want to say, and the training. And then called Twin Oaks because I kept seeing their signs all around Benicia. And I was like, hey, man, like, who are you? Like, I keep seeing your signs. I was like, I'm not ready yet because I'm getting paid salary. I don't know how it is to go full 1099. Yeah. Right? But I would like to talk to you and have a conversation and stuff. Anyways, I was like, I'm thinking about joining around December. That's when I think they'll do their layoff, their second round. They did it in November.
Ooh.
Yeah. So call Ryan up. It's like, can I join tomorrow? But one of the reasons why I joined was because Ryan, I had asked him on the phone. I said, like, how hard is it going to be a new real estate agent? Like going from W-2, making good money to 1099. I probably won't see a check for 6 months to a year. And he was like, it's going to be hard as shit. It's going to be hard.
The honesty, man, is so good.
Yeah. So I literally, hey, sign me up. How do I join?
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
EXP was like, you seem like a really good person. You'll be fine. You seem like a hustler. You'll be fine. Ryan was like, you just have to have it in you.
Yeah.
And so I really like that discrepancy.
Yeah. I mean, and that goes back to, I mean, being a great business owner, just like you did, was knowing those warning signs, like the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge component to, you know, your success. But that's what, like, that's the best thing. And that's kind of comes down to content too, and social media and things like that. The honesty is what really closes someone. Yeah. Just like what Ryan did when there's other group of people that, you know, smiles and handshakes and wanting to bring you in. And then there's the Ryans that are going to be like, I'm going to give it to you straight. Yeah. And if you don't get this, then I'm not doing right by you. Yeah. So,
and that, I mean, and it talks about why I started this podcast was because, you know, you keep seeing these 60-second clip videos where it's not transparent. Yeah. And so a lot of people will join just based on a 60-second clip, or follow you on a 60-second clip, or, you know, just want to follow your advice. And there's a lot missing in between. And a lot of people need to know that in between. And being a realtor is hard, man. Like, a lot of people think we're overpaid. So that's going to be my next question is, you know, how do you feel about commissions? Are realtors overpaid at this current state of market?
I think, at the end of the day, the hardest thing in this business is getting the business. Mm-hmm. So when people do back of the napkin numbers for us, they're not seeing a lot of the stuff that we go through. Mm-hmm.
I like that, back of the napkin. Yeah. I like that because that's just like 4 lines, but you don't see everything else.
They just will say, okay, I'm buying a $700,000 house. I'm going to do 2.5% times that, and this is what you're getting, right? And they don't see the split, you know, especially they don't see if it's an online lead, then it's a 50-50 split, right? If that's what your brokerage, you know, whatever brokerage does, or even less than that sometimes, right? Just depending on the service.
The 2 big deals.
Exactly.
It was more.
Yeah. And obviously it's like, not that that's bad, but I'm saying like when they're doing this back of the napkin stuff, they're not really knowing what we do. And then taxes on top of that, and gas and all this different stuff that we spend. So it's easy to say that for sure when it comes to realtors. And I'm sure that there's a lot of realtors who don't earn their commission, right? That's a whole other thing, and it just depends on the person. But it goes back to like a buyer or a seller choosing the right representation for them. Yeah. So if you choose the right representation, an agent's worth their weight in gold. Mm-hmm. But obviously, there's going to be some who choose, you know,
they just want the cheapest option.
Yeah, or they choose a cheaper option, or they just didn't read the room right, or the appointment or whatever, and end up not being satisfied. Yeah. And if that happens, then you can say that some agents are overpaid.
Very true. Very true. I think a lot of people don't also see the work that goes behind it. Like, we can be out here showing homes like 15 homes to one. Well, not with these BRBCs anymore, but before we show homes and never have anything signed, right? And if they want to walk away because they think they heard from their cousin that the market is crashing, then they're gonna walk away, right? But I think the best thing for us and any new agents, but really any agent, is just the education process. Yeah. A lot of people want to rush strictly to, let me get a call, let me get an appointment. For me, that's not what it is. Yep. It's let me get in touch. Let me be personable. Let them know what type of person I am. Like, I'm very transparent. Yeah. I mean, you see what I put. Look what I posted this morning. Like, you know what I mean? I'm calling buyers out. I'm calling bad agents out. Yeah. Like, and I think that's very crucial to building relationships. And I've gotten a lot of business from Instagram because of my transparency, which I didn't think would work necessarily. I think some people think it's too transparent. Why are you calling buyers out? Well, why is this buyer calling in a Zillow if they don't plan on buying? Yeah. Like, you're not going to call a lawyer and waste their time.
Absolutely.
Right? So we should get the same respect. Yeah. Right? Because, go ahead.
I was going to say, it goes back to just you being authentically you. Yeah. Which is the most important thing. You know, if something resonates with you, or you feel like, I'm going to put this out there because I believe in it. Yeah. Then other people are going to believe it too.
And also, if I'm doing something, I'll call myself out. Like, that's been done. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? I've made mistakes in business. I've made mistakes in real estate. So it's not just one-sided. Like, today, I made a mistake. Escrow. I have an investor. I just listing their place. We helped buy the investor a home about 3 weeks ago. Nice. And he bought a binder insurance policy. Yeah. Totally forgot about it. You know what happens with a binder insurance policy? You get a discount if you use the same escrow company. Yep. I opened up escrow with someone else. Got the call, got a reminder this morning from the old escrow saying, hey, reminder, your buyer has an insurance policy. We're waiting for you. I was like, oh, snap. Like, okay. So I'm calling the Old Republic, who I newly opened and have a relationship. I'm like, what can we do? Can we like give him a discount anywhere just so he can stay with you? Because, you know, anytime you open pre-escrow and then you back out, that's money. It costs about $400 for pre-escrow on title companies. So I was like, okay, they're about to lose $400 just so he can save $2,000, right? So I felt bad. And anyways, we ended up switching because you have to do what's in the buyer's best interest. And escrow understood. And so that was a mistake I had today. And I'm 4 years into the business.
Small mistake, but still. Everything's a learning lesson.
Worst case scenario, I would have just gave him the money to keep the relationship with Old Republic, right? So, I mean, he promised me he would use me on the resale.
And vice versa too, right? I mean, Old Republic, any escrow company is thankful as it is, right? So
for the business,
you know, they're not going to get upset and then ruin a sour relationship with an agent too.
Exactly.
You know, so
very, very key. Very key. I do want to kind of transition into social media, man, because I mean, you've in the last few years have just gone bonkers.
Thank you.
As I would say. I mean, your Zillow. I looked at your Zillow today. I want to say 75, 79 sales total in 7 years. 19 sales this year or in the last 12 months. That's big time. Congratulations on that. Your Instagram, you're about like 10.9 Instagram followers. That's pretty big. You're very active. The short films, you got to do more of those.
I know,
those are amazing.
trying.
Yeah, do more of those. We got to do a collab one.
Absolutely.
I love it. We got to do that.
Yeah.
And then TikTok, which is extremely impressive. I mean, I know TikTok was a COVID thing, a lot of people say.
Yeah.
But you're very active.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. So I did start a while ago, but it wasn't until actually 1 year ago this month when I actually became effective. So when I started the style that I do now, which is the house tours, I was at about 2,000, maybe 3,000 followers. Wow. And then over 130K now, just in a 1 year span.
132, just to be exact. 7 million views.
Right, thank you. But yeah, so that's that. It was just I don't know, man.
What do you think popped for you?
I want to credit my brokerage a lot, right? Just a lot of those people, surrounding myself with them and what's working for them, and taking account of that, and knowing that I was like just trying to do something different. So
did trends or any viral kind of activities that you may have replicated play into that?
Absolutely.
Like, what did you kind of follow?
So there was an agent in Indiana that was doing a very similar style.
Okay.
A little bit less educational than what I do, less about neighborhoods and more just about the direct house, where I started incorporating different things, but got on a call with her, and we had already kind of been acquaintances, friends before I got on that call with her.
Okay.
And she kind of just, you know, hey, this is what I do. This is what it is. Most people that I get on calls with this don't follow through. They'll kind of get on this call with me, waste my time. So if I'm going to get on this call with you, I want you to really follow through. And I was like, done. So first video I posted kind of in that style just went viral. And I was like, obviously got to keep going from there.
So one, like, I don't remember the first video you posted, but was that first video just a regular home? Because now the homes you tour are like something special about them, like the New York Knicks player, right? Or not Knicks. Who was the one in Martinez? Joe
DiMaggio.
Joe, yeah, like that. Like you pick these certain homes now. Was it like that in the beginning?
Yeah,
it was.
It was off the jump. I knew. So I kind of came up with this thing where I was reading Alex Hormozi's $1 Million Leads.
Nice. That was a great book.
Read. And the number one thing that resonated with me in that book was he said every business owner has to have an undeniable offer. And I was like, what the fuck is a real estate agent's undeniable offer? You know what I mean? There's millions of us. You know, how can you differentiate yourself? So I was like, you know, maybe if I do an ad where I put together all the trades that I use and almost like a homeowner's booklet for them to have contacts to reach out to, maybe I can generate leads that way. That's a good differentiator. And then I was like, I came to the conclusion that the homes are our undeniable offer. That's so
yeah,
you can tour normal looking homes, but that's not going to resonate with people as much as unique, interesting homes.
And presentation of the home, right? Like, I think you do a really good job. Like, you'll go and you'll open up cabinets, and most importantly, you explain stuff, which is like, did you have to brush up on all your like your study tools?
It kind of happened as it went. And you know, social media is very unforgiving. So
you got called out?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I still do every day, but I love it.
I mean, hey, bump me up in the rankings. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. Educate me.
Exactly. So you learn a lot. You learn a lot from touring the homes, the terminology, reading the listing descriptions.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, when it's a really, really interesting home, for instance, like a Joe DiMaggio house, right? You do a little bit more research. You go a little bit further. Just to be that much more professional.
You had me doing research. I looked, because we can look at the tax rate. I looked who owned the house before. Like, I went back to the 40s.
Yeah.
I think you even mentioned like it doesn't go back further or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at everything.
Yeah.
I was looking at when Marilyn Monroe was here in San Francisco.
That's awesome.
And it's funny too because like my wife will send me your videos. Like before I told her I knew you, she would like send me these videos. Like, why does he look familiar? Right? But she sends me like 7 videos, so you watch them like sporadically. Yeah. And I look and be like, oh snap! I was like, babe, I know him. Yeah. Like kinda.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So that it's just cool to see like, and then see the comments and stuff like that. My question though would be like, how much leads and activity are you actually generating?
So from TikTok alone, I generated over 100 leads this year.
That
in a year span.
In 1 year.
Yeah. Sales, actual closings is 12 from TikTok.
12 out of the 19.
100. 12 out of the 100.
No, but 12 out of the 19 that you have, I guess, on your Zillow.
Oh yeah. So even the Zillow is inaccurate. So I've done 36 transactions this year. Yeah, when me and my mom partnered, we kind of, you know what I mean?
You split it. Nice.
So it just depends on really with how Real works. For instance, like once you hit a certain amount of sales, you hit like what's called elite status. So now I want to try to have my mom hit that. So we started passing off. Once I hit my thing, we started passing off.
That's awesome.
So that she could start building that and getting the stock rewards and things like that.
Love it. Wait, stock rewards?
Yeah.
The company gives stock rewards?
Yeah, so if you sign up for their stock bonus program, so for me, at least hitting elite, I got 16,000 in stock.
That's good.
Just by itself.
They're IPO'd already?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're technically a technology company. They're labeled as a technology company.
Interesting. Well, it's like Fly Homes. So we had we had like 500 shares of stock options, but then they fired everyone and took them away. So.
So
that's cool.
We started doing that. So really 40% of my business came from TikTok this year.
Now, when a lead reaches out, how do they directly like? Are they shy at first because they met you through social media? Like what's their first thing they say?
It's funny because it's a little bit of both, right? There's gonna be like some people that really already trust you and feel like they know you and they're really ready to go. And then some people are going to be like, you know, almost like, hey, is this guy just a social media guy or does he really know his shit? So it's kind of you have to get a balance of both people. So some people you really got to prove yourself. And then some people are just like, you're awesome. Love all your stuff. I know I want you to represent me. Like, you know, let's get going.
Are they DMs? Are they emails?
It's a mix of both.
Because I know it's hard to go through all your comments. That's a lot of comments.
Yeah, the comments are a little crazy sometimes. So if the videos don't do as well, I can do a little bit better with responding. But it's 50-50. I've had about 50, really realistically, maybe 55 actually fill out the form on my TikTok.
Wow.
Which is just like almost like a jot form. It's like 9 questions. And then when someone fills that out, it goes directly into my CRM.
Nice. What do you use for your CRM?
Lofty.
How you like it?
I love it.
Did you use that for EXP?
I did not. So the reason why I started using it is because it's about maybe 180, might be more than that per month.
Okay.
But with Real, it's $50 a month.
Oh, nice.
So it's just a really, really nice CRM that we just have.
We use a Follow Up Boss. Are you familiar with that?
I used to use previously. So super good.
We were with like Wise Agent, which is the most. I'm sure Lydia told you.
Yeah.
But it was terrible.
Yeah.
And Follow Up Boss is just so much easier.
And it's always hard to transition.
It was very hard at first, but now you get the hang of it. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, man. That's really good business. Now I'm like, I should get on my social media stuff. Cause you know, being a realtor and then doing other businesses, having kids, being a husband, like it's just so much on your plate that you try and put like the eggs in each basket and balance them. And before, like this was by far my best year as far as numbers, as far as volume, as far as connections, just everything, right? And I think what it was is like before I was doing 5 different businesses. I literally had 5 different LLCs.
Serial entrepreneur.
Yeah. And I narrowed it down this year because my tax guy was like, you're paying way too many fees in LLC costs. You need to slow down. And then also he was like, this one, you don't even need an LLC. Just keep it like, you know what I mean? Just educating me. I had fired my other tax person. That was another story. But so then I just narrowed it down from 5 LLCs to 2, and at the top of this year. And it's been the best year by far.
That's awesome.
I'm focusing on 2 businesses.
Yeah.
Everything else is more passive.
Yeah.
Right. And that was probably one of the greatest decisions. What about you? Like, I know you do a lot. You talked about the creative media agency. Let's get into that a little bit before.
So I used to own a company with a couple different business partners called Envision Media.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. You probably saw us a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Extremely hard business to run.
And why is that?
We worked with real estate agents mainly. Which was
who want to be cheap originally, so
very much so. So that's like before we sat down too, just talking about like how Ryan has this available for you. It's a totally different, just a great vertical integration for a brokerage. But for us, just the profits were super tough. The agents super tough to work with, and I don't like blame all them. Obviously, it comes down to systems and things like that in terms of a company, but. Yeah, it was just one of those things where a ton of time is being poured into it with not a lot of return, and it's one of those things where you got to know when to cut the line.
Did you rent out a place?
Yeah, we rented out a place in Pleasant Hill.
Okay.
So we were at Industrious in Walnut Creek, which was cool.
Yep.
But then we just hit roadblocks within the space and things like that. So invested a lot of time, a lot of money into a place, buying a lot of stuff. We were slightly profitable for a lot of the time. Some months, great months. And then investing back into the business of those great months. You know what I mean?
How many partners did you have?
2.
Oh, that's a lot though. 3
Yeah,
three
for sure. For sure. And it was just one of those things where we saw a need at the time and it made sense, but just going through it and differences within business partners and things like that too obviously plays a role. And still love those guys too, but.
It's just hard. I mean, I'm in business with a couple of friends, and it's just hard. Sometimes you don't want to have the conversation because you want to still be like friends, and you don't want to have that sore subject. Yeah. But running a business is hard. I own Industrious. I'm part owner and director of operations.
Yeah, I've seen that. I definitely want to hear more about that.
Of Green Hive Spaces. Shout out Green Hive Spaces, and right now we're like in expansion phase and. Just kind of running it, and me and Drake, who's the CEO, we've been working together for, I want to say, I don't know, probably like 3-4 years now, and learning each other. It's about learning each other, just as it would be as you're a realtor and you're a client. You know what I mean? It's that dating stage.
Yeah.
We're past the dating stage now, but you're always still learning.
Yeah.
And I think. Yeah, I mean, starting a business is hard. What would be some of like the first advice? Like if you were to go back and do it again, what would be some of the things you would change?
I would systems, 100% is systems for sure.
Like having like a POS type of
everything, SOP, standard operating procedures. Your technology, your tech stack, everything that's going to make your job as streamlined and hands off as possible. Customer service won't cut it. In a service-based business like that, customer service can be great, but if you're working with, agents that have somewhat unrealistic expectations or really don't know how to ask for what they want is a huge thing too.
Very true.
And then really, really, really diving deep on your business partners and making sure it's going to be the right fit. Like not even the sense of like, I guess just in the sense of really knowing that you guys are the right fit as business partners. Not as people, because it's so easy to get along with a lot of people and go down that route if you like them as a person, but when it comes to business it's totally different.
Very true.
Yeah,
very true.
Yeah.
What would be some mistakes you made kind of when launching your TikTok career?
Biggest mistake I made was not getting on the creator fund after 10,000 followers. So I missed out on quite a bit of money signing up for that late. Other than that, man, I don't really have any mistakes like that. Even down to the media company, I wouldn't take it back because it put me in the position of where I am. Like the media company just slowed me down for my business incredibly. Yeah, I was trying to
focus on too many things.
Help make other real estate agents, like my ideas and my creativity, helping other real estate agents kind of try and do that when I could have been doing that for myself a long time ago. But it's all part of the process. It's all part of like, putting yourself in those different positions.
Are you a mentor now at your brokerage?
No.
What do they offer that?
They just rolled it out.
Oh, okay.
Because I know EXP's had it for a while. So all these brokers take different things from each other.
Yeah.
But
do you have aspirations of?
Not really. I'm stretched so thin and I want to spend as much time with my family as possible. I'm at the point too right now where like I don't want to bring any. You know, I've had people reach out to like join like team, and it's like until it's an absolute need, I don't want it. I don't need it because I don't want to bring somebody on and not give them the attention they deserve. Just like I did with my mom. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like I don't want to bring someone on and just not, you know, under promise or under promise and things like that. Yeah, or over promise and then under deliver. Yeah.
What That's interesting. That is very interesting. Let's walk me through your average day.
Yeah, that's a great question.
From wake up to
I should be working out a lot more. But no, wake up. My daughter lately has been up 4:35 a.m.
How old's your daughter?
She's 19 months.
Congrats on being a father.
Thank you.
How's that been before we continue?
It's been good. I mean, you know, it's just a learning curve, man. I know you got, what, 2 or 3?
Yeah, I got 2, and then we adopted 1, so 3.
Wow, man.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
We adopted my wife's niece.
So I got 1, right? Nowhere near the same as having 2 or 3.
Yeah, you're never gonna
get just sleep. Getting used to what life is like. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I don't want her to be waking up at 4:35, but that's what it is. Yeah. So usually waking up 4:35. Sometimes we switch off, or my wife will do the first wake up. You know, vice versa. And if I get to the gym, great. If I don't, I don't. Usually start work about 9. I do the house tours 1 day per week.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so that's where like coming from today. That's what I was doing.
What made you do that? Like
it's just batching.
Okay, right? But what if your clients like need to go?
Yeah, it depends. If like, I mean, I can time block pretty well, right? Where if they're like, hey, we want to see homes tomorrow, I'll be like, I'm booked. I already have prior reservations for tomorrow. I can do PM or I can do the following day.
Okay.
You know, and I know how it is too, like with being like, though, it just depends. You know what I mean? If it's like, hey, I'm leaving town, then I'll put things to the side if I need to, for sure.
For sure. Okay.
Because the client's always the most important thing, right? Okay. Over anything. But yeah, usually getting into, walking just right next door to my office garage, get to work, depends. It just depends on what I have for that day, 9 a.m., 10 a.m.
So when you're not touring though, obviously you do a lot of content. Yeah. So like, are you doing that every day, or do you specify days that you're gonna have on your calendar?
I always wanted to have like a fully built out content calendar and like this mass organization, but I haven't gotten there yet. Yeah. I do make sure to post at least once a day on either platform. Okay. So usually my checklist every day is Instagram and TikTok. Okay. Where I'm gonna usually post. Instagram, it's more spotty, but TikTok is usually every day, if not 6 days a week.
And how, like, if you're posting on TikTok for today, when did you do that tour actually?
Yeah, so sometimes I did it the day before, sometimes I did it a week before, sometimes it's 6 days before, so it just totally depends.
Totally random.
Gotcha. Sometimes I can cross-post stuff on the same platform. Depending on what I do, I usually just like to stay all local on TikTok. So if I'm talking about something local or if I'm touring a local house. But sometimes I'll do like 2 or 3 of the voiceovers, because everything I do on TikTok is a voiceover just in my office after I get done with a tour. And sometimes I'll batch as many of those as I can. Sometimes I'll do one of those voiceovers once every day. Okay. So the marketing is obviously just like super important. And then
do you edit your videos yourself?
I do. There's not too much editing with those TikTok videos.
That's true. It's just
like here and there.
The audio, I would assume.
Yeah. It's all in CapCut.
Yeah.
I'd say about 80% of my content on Instagram. Maybe 70% of my content on Instagram is all iPhone. Okay. So it's all kind of me within that sense. And then I have a videographer I pay on retainer. So, we do like the Bay Area Boys podcast and things like that. That's like, part of what he does too. And send that over to an overseas editor to chop up the long form to the short form. Yep. Just there's things like that. And then as far as like, it just depends on what's on my plate. With me and my mom partnering this year, I've been able to do a lot more marketing, and she's helped a lot with the other stuff. So lead generation has just been super heavy for me this year, and just like leaning into that and just keep doing what's working and diversifying the content too.
Yeah, 2025 is about to be busy, man.
Yeah.
You excited?
Definitely.
Cool.
How about you?
I am. I feel like even just speaking with realtors right now, there's a lot of people who just have listings ready to fire off in January.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So I feel like it's going to be a lot busy. And it's already kind of like, just people are just on their heels, I feel like, or toes, you would say, but waiting. Yeah.
Buyers too, huh?
Yeah. Buyers too. Literally, as I got a text on the way here from a guy who was well, let's look at this house. I'm so ready. 2 weeks ago to just got a text saying, hey, I spoke with the wife. I think we're going to wait 6 months just and see where the market goes. Yeah. And I get those texts every day.
For sure.
And I'm sure you do too. Yeah. And it's just like, cool. What else can you tell them? You can't tell someone to make the biggest purchase. Yeah. And be that agent who pressures them. Now you can educate them. Yeah. Right? You can say, okay, well, where do you think the market's going to be in 6 months and why? Yeah. Well, I think interest rates are going to drop and we got Donald Trump coming for president. So he's just, going to flush a lot of money or whatever excuse. And it's like, okay, well, what happens when he does that? You and how many other people are going to be wanting to buy, right? And then it creates COVID again. And so it's just education instead of pressure, right? And so... it's just interesting. But one of the questions I wanted to ask was, and I've always wanted to know is, how do you find these unique homes? Do you literally just search Zillow like a buyer?
No, so just the MLS. So I just I start with the cities that I want, and then really just this new stuff for the week.
Do agents, because I thought about this, but I didn't want to be off. Do agents send you their listings for you to come tour?
Yeah, I've had.
Do you do that?
Yeah, for sure. You start building relationships with a lot of these agents, especially a lot of the rainmakers that are in some of those really higher price points, like Oakland Hills and Berkeley and things like that.
I should have had you on these two, the two I just closed.
Oh yeah.
Blackhawk too. That would be perfect.
For sure. Yeah. So some people they some agents will take notice, especially within the brokerages, especially the marketing directors within like East Bay Compass and Red Oak Realty and things like that. So I still get no's every once in a while for some agents who may not know or may not know the value that it's adding.
Do you introduce yourself as that? Hey, Roland.
Yeah, here's my TikTok. I get permission on every single one.
Written?
Text. Yeah.
Nice.
So I never call. I always just text. And then once I build a relationship with some of these people that always say yes, I don't even need to ask them from there. But so it's just kind of going back down to like, usually the sweet spot for years is like anywhere from 1900s to like 1970s. That's where some of the more unique homes are. You're not going to get some of the more like modern ones and things like that. And I'll do some modern ones every once in a while.
Have you done the modern one in Benicia by the water?
I think Matt did it. Yeah. I'm surprised that one's still on.
Yeah.
I think it's just a tough town for a high price point.
2-something million right there.
But so getting permission from every single agent, and I guess probably 1 or 2 out of every 10 you'll get a no.
Do they offer payment? Do you require
payment? So I've had a couple agents that reach out, and if it doesn't meet my criteria, meaning that if
it's just for promo.
Yeah, then I'm like, it's going to be... I've actually had an agent, both Matt and I have had an agent whose clients asked the agent to reach out to us to do it. And I said no. I was like, hey, it's $400. And, he was kind of a dick. So I was like, once he was like agreed, because he was just like asking me all this information, all this correct, and already reached out, kind of being a dick. And I was like, I don't even need the money, bro. Like I'm not doing it. He kept bothering us. Because then
I realized that when they're asking for like too much up front and stuff like that, and they're just being weird up front, they're gonna be weird when you're doing it. And maybe ask for edits and like.
So and I was like, it's just I'm good, but. Other than that, I haven't really like tapped in too much into that because it just benefits me. I make money from TikTok every month, so it's like regardless, I'll make money if it doesn't, even if someone's not willing to pay. And I don't want to oversaturate like my page with homes that wouldn't do well regardless.
For sure. So typically we're pretty transparent up here. Do you mind sharing what you make from TikTok?
So I usually average about $3,000 a month.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful, and that's you posting one per day. Is there like a certain amount of views you have to?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it has to be over a minute long. You have to be able to create a fund. You have to have over 10,000 followers. Cool. I think there's some other small requirements within that, but the biggest one is it has to be over a minute long.
Are you nervous with?
I mean, like, I wouldn't say I'm nervous. I was just talking to a buddy about this earlier. It's funny. But yeah, it would suck.
Because then now you got to go to Instagram, and Instagram pays pennies to the dollar.
Yeah, pennies to the dollar. So and like even then, like 12 direct sales coming from TikTok this year. I mean, and so many leads that are going to be turned into sales eventually. Yeah. It would absolutely suck. Yeah. And such a it just, in my opinion, from everything I've consumed regarding it, it's just so that, what do you want to call it, the government or whatever it is, can keep Instagram and Facebook and get rid of their biggest competition, which is TikTok.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Which is why Mark Zuckerberg just met with Donald Trump like 2 days ago.
Yep.
So it's all about just keeping Facebook and Instagram number one, or Meta.
Yeah.
But which is fine. I mean, whatever. But have you started making a transition to kind of combat that if it does happen? I do think it will get postponed because that's a huge thing that needs to go through, just like the NAR settlement, took a while. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. But are you preparing yourself to transition to something?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll just go more on Instagram and YouTube.
YouTube is
definitely. So I did a lot of YouTube, but the amount of energy output versus the actual closings I got were vastly different. Instagram works really well in the terms of SOI, sphere of influence and things like that. But when it comes to TikTok, it's the most generation I've got from a total stranger. And Instagram has been about half of what TikTok's done in the last 3 years of Instagram's consistency on Instagram versus a year of TikTok's.
Question, and correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like when you started on TikTok, and the reason I say that is because when I started, that's kind of how it was. Is a bunch of random strangers from all over the world commenting and engaging. And now because you've posted so much Bay Area stuff, it's probably more of a niche. Has it gotten into a niche of where it's a lot of California people?
It's funny. I mean, I think it's all over the place, but I still get people that are like, I'm a teenager in London. Am I ever going to go to the Bay Area? No, but I still love watching these, That's
awesome.
Definitely. Like, I think the biggest thing that people underestimate is a lot of people want to go viral and they kind of like it to the broadest audience possible. But the most viral content I've ever done has all been local content. And that's so that to just answer your question again on like pivoting, it's just going to be all local stuff on Instagram.
Good advice. That is beautiful. I want to pivot to kind of talking about more local. That was a great pivot right there. So any like common misconceptions about real estate? Like what are some buyer beliefs that you've kind of experienced lately? Any misconceptions? A buyer comes to you and it can be the market is too expensive or I'm never going to be able to afford a home. That's what I hear a lot now.
I think the biggest one I get is first-time home buyer programs. I think that's the biggest question I get where they're just like, I bought like, I don't know what it is, 10 years ago, so I won't be able to use a first-time home buyer program where FHA, they have guidelines that are all over the place, but... for the most part, like people can do multiple FHA loans, not within a crazy short span.
It's every other 3 years.
Right. Okay. So, things like that. But I mean, to me, like, I don't know if people always say first time home buyer program. And I'm like, what is this first time home buyer program you're talking about? You know what I mean? Like, I know that there's first responder programs. There's all these different stuff within different,
there's like thousands. One realtor is not going to know a lot. It's your lender that's
exactly. But like first time over grant or this or that, to me, it's like FHA, I think is what they're really talking about when they're saying first time home buyer, program. So I think that's the biggest conception. I would say that I get asked the most. Other than that, people just don't know what they don't know at all. You know what I mean? Like I think the biggest flex that you can have as a real estate agent is knowing construction, knowing costs of what it takes to do things. And knowing your shit when it comes to a home, from the foundation to the roof.
Very true.
So that was one thing that flipping really, just for it being my first go at real estate, was able to really, really teach me, which was really cool. So that helps clients exponentially. Knowing that like something can be done for a few thousand versus what they would think in their mind is 30,000 creates a lot of relaxation within the process.
Speaking of flipping,
and
I don't. We can cut this out if we need to.
No, go ahead.
But this was probably like a year ago. Was submitting an offer for like my number one investor on a home in Martinez. And guess who was the other buyer? You.
Really?
It was Caitlin's deal. Caitlin Johnson. Martinez duplex.
Yes.
What happened with that home? If you don't mind sharing?
No, please.
Because you were in contract, and I believe you guys backed out.
So I didn't get to see the basement. You know what I mean? There was a lot of traction on that listing, and come to find out, there was no foundation on one of the homes. Yeah.
On the one that was extended, like the one that they built after, or
no, I think it was the first one, the original one, the one on the corner.
How was it standing up?
It was all on really poorly done steel jacks.
What?
Throughout the whole entire. So it was built in like 1908, no foundation.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. So we were running numbers, right? It was known we were going to negotiate.
Yeah.
Based off of that. So we were going to potentially pivot to a 203K. If it was going to make sense, or if not, we were just going to get it low enough to where the numbers were going to be ran.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Your brother was moving in there, right? Correct.
That's what made things a little bit better too.
Gotcha.
But they ended up, we were past our contingency time, and we had an extension, but it didn't matter. They had another offer that came in that was way higher than us, and that they specialized that other offer that came in. They specialized into turning homes like that into site condos.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Or TICs, things like that. Yeah. So really smart, because I've been seeing Makes that sense. More and more in Oakland and Berkeley too.
I was about to say Oakland. Yeah,
exactly. And I remember seeing it come on the market, but they were at way too high of a price. I don't know if they really misjudged their numbers on it, but they were trying to sell one of those for $700,000.
Yeah, I think it's still on the market as of like 2 months ago.
Wow. Yeah. So I would assume they probably rented it out at this point. But that's where it's like, I was like, oh, if they're willing to give you that number, go with that.
How did you have a contingency?
Yeah.
Okay, so
for
you used your Okay, I was gonna say, because technically you could really use like a new material fact on that.
Yeah.
You want to fight it. But
No, it was one of those things where I respected her, and I'm not that some agents, and I'm sure you've dealt with this a lot of the times, like a lot of agents in our industry can be really, really cutthroat and assholes and things like that, and dealt with it a lot this year.
Yeah.
But Caitlin was just super nice. You know what I mean? And it was like, I didn't want to get into some huge thing about it. It was like, oh, if they're willing to give you that price, like, you guys go for it.
For sure.
You know what I mean? It's not.
I think I said the same thing. Because you were the one who beat us by it wasn't that much. It was like 10,000,
right?
15,000.
Right.
But you had a loan shorter contingency or something like that. So I don't know. You had beat us slightly, and I was like, you know what? Just come back to us if they back out of their contingency. Yeah. At that point, she came back to us, but then they had that higher offer.
Yeah,
and I was like,
hell no.
No way. You keep it. Yeah. Then she told us the no foundation. I was like, no chance.
Yeah. Finding that was pretty funny.
So what would you like, because did you not, obviously when you're touring the home, you're not looking at foundation on the first visit.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a basement, absolutely.
Yeah, well,
but this one, the stucco just went all the way down, so you couldn't, it wasn't able to be, you couldn't tell unless you were in that basement.
You requested for like a foundation expert to open it up?
No, once it came, because thing was home inspection. Yep. So once it came in, there's like, oh, there's no foundation. And then I had my structural engineer come out to see, okay, what is this going to cost?
Gotcha.
Because I was going back and forth between, are we going to go hard money on this, or are we going to go 203K loan? What's going to make the most sense if we can get everybody to agree?
Have you done a 203K loan before?
Never helped a buyer.
Can you explain what it is for those?
Yeah, so it's basically what you're able to do is an FHA loan that you're essentially able to have the construction costs fronted in order to purchase the home. Long story short, you have to. It has to be a licensed contractor that's going to do the work and things like that. It's a longer process, and usually the interest rate's a little bit higher, but it can make total sense if it makes sense. Our market's always been, for the most part, so competitive for those to work. But I guarantee there's plenty of agents we know who have done it before.
Very true.
Yeah.
How are you advising clients when inventory is limited and the competition is still high?
Yeah. My biggest thing, especially with clients who want to be in a certain price point that they're not really cutting in terms of competitiveness, it's just, you got to just always look at those homes with the higher days on market. Even if it's not the thing the number one thing that you want. Most first-time home buyers out here are honestly, for their staying in their first home, are on a 10 to 12 year, where I think other states could be more of a 5 to 7 year for first homes. So just knowing that it's not like super permanent, but I would always tell people to buy the neighborhood over the house itself. But obviously, like, even with the videos I do, people fall in love with these extremely charming houses, but they definitely come at a price as well. And they also come with more work and more care and more love that's needed.
For sure. I mean, but typically the ones you've toured are like, or they look like in really good condition, like they've been kept up well.
It's just like, you know how photos can be so deceiving?
Yeah.
Videos can be deceiving too.
That's true. Yeah.
So like, you know, and I'll say that's where it's like the transparency comes in those videos. You know, like there's definitely some sloping here. You know, like this is how this type of foundation works. You know, things like that. So just like, you know, I had a client the other day that ended up getting a 3-bed, 2-bath in a way better neighborhood of Oakland than she thought she was going to be in. Yep. And it's because it was sitting on the market for over 100 days. Nothing wrong with the house. Great house. Matter of fact, the reports that they got done were super inaccurate. So we had our own reports that we got done and saved her about $30,000.
What?
Yeah. And then in a 3-bed, 2-bath, when she was expecting to get a 2-bed, 1-bath in a different neighborhood, you know, and $275,000 under what they bought it for in 2022.
So interesting.
Yeah.
I guess my next question would be like, are you gonna start building out a system for finding homes, being sent these homes to just make it easier on you, so you're not, obviously you got a new kid, like it's 19 months now, but when they start getting into sports and dances, you know what I mean?
You know,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a whole different
systems. Thing. Right? So are you in the process of building systems to kind of not step away?
Absolutely.
But just be more proactive, I guess?
So we had an assistant, both my mom and I, for a few months, and she put her 2 weeks in. So we are in between assistants right now. Okay. And I'm going just back and forth and talking to different VA companies, whether it makes more sense to do a couple different VAs or just have that in-person admin that can be kind of like a jackknife.
Gotcha.
So absolutely. When we had our assistant, she was the one reaching out to all the agents, setting the tours, setting the maps, setting everything.
Yeah.
So those systems are still in place. We have a lot of standard operating procedures when it comes to everything, but finding the right person for the role is the tough one. Cool. And I think, just taking the time with the hire is super important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the best approach for a buyer to get into the market, you think?
Have parents with money. As funny as that is,
no, that's
what we see. That's what I've seen more this year than ever.
Yeah. Me too.
You know, grandparents, parents, and honestly, you know, giving the credit for some of the people my age that have bought that just saved, man, just stayed really, really, you know, frugal with their stuff. One thing I noticed about our area is there's different states where they're heavy, you know, people get really lucky with relocation. You know, places like Orlando and Texas are heavy relocation states. You got a lot of people coming in. Mm-hmm. Our area is the exact opposite of that. So that's why like YouTube in our market doesn't work as well for that type of content. But what our area does is they are from San Francisco, they're from the peninsula, they're from the South Bay, and they save and save and save and save for a very long time, or they have parents with money, and then they come to a more affordable area like the East Bay. Yeah. So that's where the only thing you can do is save. I know we a lot of us, you know, it's like you can't save your way.
How do you save? We're not getting paid enough.
I know.
And that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, I saw you at like Target spend like $400 in one trip, but this is another conversation.
I will say though, I do think that we're in such a convenience stage in our generation. You think DoorDash, you think anything that you can think of, you can have at your fingertips. Same thing with content, right? Or buying things online, buying things on Amazon. Like, you know, it's wild to me. Like I see packages that like I order too, but my wife, and it's like every day, like there's a package coming in. Yeah. And it's wild to think about, you know what I mean? Maybe not every day. I don't want to think like you know, buying stuff like crazy like that. But for the most part, you know, that's what our life is like. Yeah. And I do think that there are a lot of people that could sacrifice a lot more if they really wanted to be a homeowner.
I agree, and I always say like, a lot of people come to me and I'm like, okay, well, what's your criteria? And it's, I want 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, non-negotiable. I need a big backyard. I need it next to a good school district. I have 2 young kids, and it has to be under $700K. Okay.
Yeah. Where are you getting that?
Where realistically, can you repeat that again?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, like I don't promise dream home. So if this is your forever home, I'm probably not the right realtor for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get you into the market. You're going to learn the market as you're in it. You're going to save, because when you buy a home, that is your big saving, your big piggy bank. Yeah. Like you can save as much as you want. And I'm not going to buy coffee for 5 days out of the week, you know what I mean? And save there and penny pinch. But like when you go purchase a home, that home's going to appreciate faster in California specifically, more than you saving and getting 5 jobs. Yep. right? And so I'm going to get you a starter home.
Yeah.
And if that's not on the game plan, if we can't understand that that is something you need because rents are going to keep rising, homes are going to keep rising, mortgages, interest rates, like we can't time these things, right? And so if that's what you're wanting, you'll probably be better with a realtor who's going to...
Exactly. I mean, like me thinking back, like I said, like I basically house hacked for way too long.
Yeah.
Way too long. You know what I mean? Had my girlfriend, now wife at the time, like
she was like, let's get out of here.
Yeah. Like, I hate this, right? Yeah. Sharing a bathroom with 3 other dudes for years.
Yeah.
And it's like people, I think that, like I said, it's like people are so used to their convenience.
Yep.
It can be very convenient to live with your parents for a very long time, which I think, as a society should be more forgiving with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to me that, like, it's like looked down on that, like, it's like if you're saving money, like, that you should live with your parents. If you have a great relationship with your parents, live with your parents.
Depends on the culture, because we know the cultures that do it and we can't say, but it depends on the culture. And I think once you get to a certain point of understanding money and understanding what's important to you, then staying with your parents is almost like, especially when you have kids, it's like, oh shit, I want to do that. Yeah. Like, I get to leave the house whenever I want and leave the kids with grandma. Like, hell yeah. Are you kidding me? So, I mean, I brought that up to my wife, brought up the Airbnb. I was like, man, we got way too many rooms in this thing. Like, we got 5 bedrooms. And when we had our first kid, we had 3 rooms empty. So I'm like, can we Airbnb the downstairs?
Yeah.
And she was like, no, I don't want a stranger here with a kid.
And I get it.
Gotcha.
That's the thing I feel the most for is the people with families, especially like on a single income.
Yes.
Things like that I totally get. Like if you were to put myself in the position now having a daughter and a wife, it's that the house hacking's not going to cut
Not
it.
even.
Right.
But then I was like, all right, well, can we like build like a ADU on the side for my mom or something? Yeah. That way we could just leave anytime.
At least she'll offset the mortgage.
Yeah. So
other than that, biggest thing is getting a duplex. Getting a duplex,
which everyone wants.
Same thing, but I see the opposite of that sometimes. A lot of the times too, like, oh, we really want our own house. We want to be able to entertain.
True.
It's like, man, if I did it the opposite. I did single family, obviously just because of the blessing that I was given, but and then went to duplex after that.
True.
But it's like the duplex makes the most sense because it's not going to be as high price as a triplex or a fourplex, but you're still going to have that offset of the mortgage for the most part.
True.
Sometimes, I mean, with the way interest rates are right now, you might be paying more than the tenant's paying.
Yeah.
But
real life example, and I know you're listening. I'm not going to say your name, but I have a client who's a really good friend of mine. Grew up with him, and he's in the process of searching for a home right now. And I've been trying to tell him. He wanted a duplex originally, but I've been trying to tell him, like, hey, man, like he's in Oakland, and the Oakland duplexes are just not the area I want him to be in.
Yeah, dude.
And I'm like, no, like, cross the bridge. I know you work in Oakland, but FHA only needs you to live there for 1 year.
Yeah.
1 year. I will pay you back the toll amount.
Yeah.
Like, trust me on this when I'm giving you good advice is there's a duplex here in Vallejo, $700K, recently renovated. We could probably get it at like $650. Trust me. 2 bed, 1 bath on each. Look how much the rents bring. That's more than your mortgage.
Yeah.
In 1 year. Just give it 1 year.
And Oakland tenant laws too, man.
He won't do it.
Wow.
And I'm like, you're going to regret
what if
that.
he not even like something close like Martinez? Richmond.
He will. He just doesn't want to cross the bridge. But where in Martinez can I find a duplex?
It's tough.
I mean, yeah, even the one we were working on.
Right. It is tough. I know we've looked at them every once in a while too, or like even like a house with a little unit underneath or whatever it is. But it's like it's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
It goes at sacrifice. I wouldn't. My goal eventually is to get out to Oakland. But it's the same thing. It's like, it's not needing to have things right now.
Exactly.
I think that's the biggest thing, biggest advice for homeowners is like you can easily make things work, even if you're living with just one roommate or whatever it is. Yeah. If you really want to be a homeowner, if you want to starting as early as possible.
Well, just learn too. Like get in there, learn how to save taxes, learn the strategy. But if you learn before you take that first step, you're gonna be learning forever, and it's gonna be too late. Yep. Like right now, I've been waiting for Bitcoin to drop below 100. Yeah. And in the last 2 weeks, it has not gone below 100. And I'm like, I'm just waiting for the buy dip. Like, you know what I mean? But it's not because we got presidency coming up. Yep. Really loves Bitcoin. So it's like, when do you buy? Do I buy it right now and just test it? You know what I mean? So it's just an example. But
no, I know it's. I've always shied away from crypto just because I like. Same thing with stocks. I've always shied away from stocks.
Really?
I've always been real estate.
That was going to be one of my next questions. I know we got 15 minutes, so we'll start wrapping it up. But that was actually going to be one of my next questions is like, are you invested in other things? How many homes do you own currently?
Just 3 doors. So the duplex and the single family.
Okay.
Yes.
And then your actual home?
No, just the one I live in now and then the duplex.
Oh, gotcha.
And then I own those with my brother and of course, my wife.
Yeah.
But same thing, going back and forth on like, the market now and like what realistically we need, which is a 3-bed, 2-bath. And then I'm like, man, do I want to do that? Do I want to just invest?
What are you at right now? 3-1?
3-1, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to invest, way more into my business or another business that's going to generate more business, whatever it is, right? With like the nest egg that we have. And then other than that, like about diversifying, the only other thing I have is real stock. I got really lucky where I got in really early with real. So the stock's done really well. Yeah. And I, same thing. I won't touch that.
Yeah.
Unless it's,
that's awesome.
Hit the emergency
button.
So
no other stocks?
No.
Roland.
I got some XP.
No, when I was with them. Sell that.
No, so that's the thing. It's the same thing as like, like going back to first time home buyers. Like I don't know what I don't know. And I've always been so real estate focused.
Yeah.
But even then it's like, looking at prices now, it's tough to want to make that investment for that large of an amount, especially for an investment property here. Like for instance, the duplex in Vallejo, we put 20% down.
Yeah.
So
it's a big chunk, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, I definitely got to diversify more.
Cool.
I have like a money market account, things like that. Super simple
just
stuff.
Savings accounts.
But I'll have to pick your brain more, Brad.
Yeah, Ben, I like just a little bit more about me.
Please. But please.
How I got interested. I mean, I wrote a couple of children's books.
I saw that. Yeah.
So I was just really interested in it because I went to college and I went to Colorado College, which is like 1% black. So it stood out everywhere I go, right? And, I was on the basketball team and I'd have these conversations at dinner and just learn about what the parents did. My mom couldn't make every trip, right? And I really I'm a sponge. So like, I want to be the dumbest person in the room and just listen, right? And ask questions. I am not afraid to ask questions. I'm not shy, even if it's like that was a bold question. Yeah. But I respect it. I like those interactions. So just asking questions. And most of the common topics was real estate and stocks. And you're like, interesting. And I'm not in school for business finance. At that point, I was about to be a cop and get into the FBI. That's a whole nother story. Yeah. So, I'm like on a whole different trajectory, right? And I'm then I get out of school and I'm figuring life out. I'm in construction for a year, figuring what I want to do. I get a really good job at Coca-Cola for 3 years. I had got fired because of the pandemic. So yes, I got fired twice in 2 years, which is a crazy thing as you're having a new kid. It's eye-opening. I'm
super scary.
$400 on EDD a week. I'm like, during COVID, the world's falling apart. What do I do, right? So talk about mental like depression, right? So when you start learning that, I'm starting therapy, starting a little Calm app, and just trying to calm my blood pressure down. Yeah. And so we were blessed enough to have the house. And I just start, that's when all the 5 businesses come in. What the hell? What can I do? Here, DoorDash, and here. I'm doing everything. Yeah. Then I got into real estate. And the reason I got into real estate is because prior to me being fired, I was actually looking to invest in real estate because I knew, hey, real estate and stocks. I had already done stocks. The $100 here, 100. That's all it takes. It's just you put in $100 here and there. You don't need to just buy one stock at a time, right? And so that helped me. And then the 401ks and just learning how it goes like this and like that. And then so I was investing in real estate. Obviously, when I lost my job, I was like, I can't spend this $20,000 that I saved up and go purchase a house. That's a huge risk. Like, I don't know what I'm doing next. Yeah. I'm not going back to a 9-to-5. Yeah. I know that. Yeah. So I need to figure it out. I kept the 20, and I told my partners, hey, go purchase. They did. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to get back to learning real estate. I'm going to get back to learning stocks. And I learned a lot. And then I wrote the book. And as I wrote the book, it was almost like reteaching myself everything I had learned in college. Yeah. And those conversations and the podcast. Yeah. Podcast was big in college, right? And so just relearning everything, getting familiar. And then became a realtor because I was like, why don't people know this? I start posting stuff. You know, I've kind of always had like a big following, like even in high school and stuff. And I'd post stuff and then get responses and it'd be like, whoa, I thought that was common sense. Not like I just learned it.
Yeah.
Though. You know what I mean?
We expect people to be like us.
Yeah. And like, especially when you're so like zoned in, it's like tunnel vision. So I was like, wait, people don't know this? Oh, maybe I should like be a realtor and start teaching this. Like, and so I was like, let me get my license. I got all the time in the world during COVID. It was 2020. Got my license and then joined the other brokerages. But that's like how like my story into real estate. You kind of just
fall into things, right? It's like just following the path.
You don't really like pick it. I mean, never grew up and was like, I want to be a realtor.
That's it.
I don't think anybody has.
I think the best thing I heard is like real estate is everybody's second career choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's always the best one.
Yeah.
Like it's always where they actually excel or they do bad.
Whatever. Yeah. I've seen a lot of agents. I mean, some that have been licensed longer than me that just kind of bowed out this year.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. But I like to, we got about 10 minutes. I like to get to a segment called Hella Misguided where I ask the same question to each entrepreneur that comes up here.
Yeah.
And that question is, if you were to write a letter to your 18-year-old self, what would a summary of that letter be? I mean, you had a good 19 though, I ain't gonna lie.
I think it would just be like, just keep following your instincts. You know what I mean? Like everything that I've done, it's just happened to work out and it's just kind of following my brain. You know, it's just like keep on what you're doing. And like, if you think something's a good idea, do it. Even though it may not be a good idea, you know, in the short term or something like that, it still gets you to where you're supposed to be.
What's a good idea right now that you have second thoughts about?
Got
him.
Yeah. So one of my ideas, I mean, well, you know, depending on what happens with TikTok, is to start traveling, to do tours in other attractive areas. You know, if I can make enough to where it makes sense and if I can generate leads in other those areas and do a referral business too, that'd be awesome. Also hard to do with the family. Also some uncertainty there. So yeah,
you got 2 years for free travel.
That's one of those things where I'm like, oh, it's a good idea. You know, am I going to do it? You know, it's one of those things where we'll see if I can free up enough time. It would make sense.
You're going to need an assistant.
Yep.
You need to get your assistant first.
Yeah.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
But that is not a bad idea because you can get into those relocation YouTube people. Sean, I forgot his name, but I interviewed him a couple years ago. He's an investor. He does big on YouTube and TikTok. You probably know him. And then there's just, you know, all those relocation people you can tap into, introduce yourself, and get into that world. I think that's a great idea, actually. Yeah.
So
hold on to that.
Right. We'll see.
On to that.
What about you?
Me? That is a good question. I think, like I said, this year was my best year because I zoned in. And knowing me, I like to do a lot more. Yeah. And I have the itch to go do other stuff.
I'm with you.
And I talk with my wife and I'm like I want to do this. It was like, I'm anxious. But I know if I zone in again for 2025, it's going to be like great. Yeah. And so that's my good idea is like zone in, but don't deviate. Yeah. And I know I want to deviate, and I think deviation is okay in some instances. Like the co-working business. I'm director of operations. I own part. You know, I'm part owner of it. But Drake's really doing a lot of the work. I'm doing the work on the side, and if I zone in a little bit more on that, I think we'd be great. And then real estate investments right now. I've been looking for a very long time. I'm looking in California, obviously, because I'm a realtor. I'm trying to get into my first flip. Okay. I have properties. I've had properties, Airbnbs and stuff like that, but I've never done a flip. And so right now, California's expensive for a flip, especially when I do it with like 1 to 2 business partners. Yeah. I can easily get 4 people, but it's like it's a lot.
For sure. Splitting the pie on that's not fun.
Yeah. And so I'm looking for flips in California. And I've been working with a realtor in Indiana, and I've been looking there for a while, and that will probably happen very, very soon. So I think me expanding the real estate business on that aspect as well.
That's what I always love about watching your stuff too, is you know a lot when it comes to a lot of different things, investments, wholesale, you know, things like that, where that is one of the things I do realize or see a lot is real estate agents, they don't know their own product enough.
Yeah.
And all the knowledge of knowing all that type of different stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it just goes back to, you know, you don't know what you don't know, but doing all that stuff has definitely, I can guarantee, obviously made you a better agent.
And that's what made me kind of have a breakout year, was that I found my two niches. When I first joined Twin Oaks, and I tell all my mentees this, is like when I first joined, I was trying to find my way. I was like, all right, Zillow's cool. We're the #1 team in the Bay Area for Zillow. So we get calls, right?
Yeah.
I joined that first month. I'm a hustler. So first month, I took all the calls. I had 40 leads from Zillow.
Damn.
So it got to the point where they had to call me up and be like, hey, we got to block you. Right? We got to block you because we need to share the wealth, right? Stuff like that. And you have to nurture these leads. You can't just accept. I got you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Cool. So I was blocked for like 3 to 6 months. So in that 3 to 6 months, as a new realtor on 1099, what do? You have to figure something else out, right? Because your whole life just changed. And then your #1 lead source of why you joined Twin Oaks is gone.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah.
So I just had to find my niches. Yeah. And it took about 6 months to a year. I nurtured those Zillow leads. Zillow. Like I say that on camera, but I talk about it all the time.
No, I know. It's just online lead generation. It's a tough.
Online, And so I've actually done pretty well on Zillow.
Good.
But I do talk ish about Zillow a lot. And I think it needs to be said, because a lot of the clients, as we discussed, will come in and say, why do you deserve that much? Well, Zillow takes 50%.
Yeah.
So, you know, that 25,000 we might be getting is really only 10.5 minus 40%, depending if you got an S corp, maybe minus 24%, right? I walk away, and then we got $1,000 in transaction fees, VA fee. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that goes into it they don't see, right? And I explain that to each client who questions, and then they, And so, anyways, back to like, it's finding a niche. And my two niches I realized that work well for me was investors. I know I've come to you many of times of, hey, do you have off markets? I have an off market here. That has been my niche, because, as I said, before I got into real estate, I was trying to be an investor myself. So I did all the studying up front. And that's when you say, like, you know your stuff, because I studied it from the other side. And so now I have the ability to study it from this side and be able to actually give you professional advice. And that's worked well for me. I can crunch numbers super easily.
That's huge.
Very huge. And then I just built like my connections. Being a realtor is really about connections. And for me, I saw real estate and realtors is very dog eat dog industry, just like insurance, just like any sales industry. People don't want to talk to each other. And I did not want to be like that. I wanted to follow people like you. I wanted to interact. We've DM'd multiple times. We even got each other's numbers a while ago. We text. We just check up on each other. We never met until today. And I just wanted to build relationships to be like, if you ever had a thought of where you needed to go for an investment property, Juwan is going to be in that conversation. That's all I want.
It was like I said, I had some clients that I work with that were telling me, that was like, you thought I was joking when I was like, I have some clients that brought you up and you're like, what are you talking about? I was like, no, I'm serious. They like he saw you like signing some papers or something on the hood of a car. And he was like, honestly, we probably would have, if we didn't, you know, I got introduced by a referral to them. They're like, if we didn't, you know, get referred to you, we probably would have gone with him.
Oh, that is crazy.
I know.
That hurts, but no, that's great.
Like they met you at an open house and things like that. So yeah, it comes down to everything. You know what I mean? It's just like just showing up.
Yeah, and I think that was very key for me in that first year. I've been with Twin Oaks. November was 2 years.
Nice.
But I've been a realtor for 4. So the first year was hard. This is the second year. That first year was just learning. It was finding my niche. It was building connections. I would call, instead of cold calling leads, I'd cold call agents. I would cold call, I think I even cold called Lydia at one point and be, hey, my name is Juwan. I'm with Twin Oaks. You know, my niche is investors. I have this type of buyer, etc. Do you have any off markets? Cool, no, I don't. Well, if you, by any chance, get any, can I take your email and your name and your phone number? I'll add you to my CRM. You shoot me a message anytime. I would do that day in, day out instead of leads, because I'm getting the leads from Zillow. Right? And then my other niche is, I realized when I started posting the transparency stuff of calling buyers out or calling bad realtors out, and we've dealt with a lot of where like they don't know what they're doing, and the the ones that don't know what they're doing are typically the ones that's been in business for 25 years.
It happens a lot.
Yeah, just had one. So actually just had multiple this year. So those are the ones who, don't really, it's irritating. So I called them out and I started getting traction and engagement. And I did not think that would happen because I was calling someone out on bad behavior.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people were like, you know what? When I'm ready to buy, I'm coming with you. Just got a Twitter. I was at a party the other night, got a Twitter DM, and they were like, I'm not ready right now, but when I am, I'm coming to you. And I said, what makes you not ready? Well, credit score, and we don't have the money. I said, well, there's like programs and like, I think we should sit down because there's stuff I can introduce. And that was my other niche, was first-time homebuyer programs. Yeah. You mentioned first-time homebuyer program. I know 5 of them off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And I know how to get in there. I know what credit score you need. I've worked with the lender. We've closed 2 deals last year, or one in 2023 and one in 2024, where buyer came out of pocket $500, buyer came out of pocket $690. How is that even possible?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so these programs paired with a good realtor, because I had to negotiate, right? Can get you in the door. Is it your dream home? No, because it was a condo. It was a 1-bedroom, 1 bath. Are you willing to take that and build wealth? But that's a different conversation.
Right.
And so we talk about it. But we just hit our mark. So before we wrap it up, I want to ask, is there anything you might want to say to your TikTok audience, your Instagram audience?
I don't know. I feel like I talk to them quite a bit.
Yeah, that's true. You do talk a lot.
Right. Probably too much. But no, I mean, just the normal stuff, like just reach out to people like us, people that you resonate with, and, just know that are going to do right by you. I think that's the biggest thing, especially like in our industry. Real estate agents just get a bad rap. Just because, there are some agents who may not give the most effort or may not know wholeheartedly what they're doing, but you just got to do your due diligence, just like we do for you on the stuff that you don't know.
That's true.
That's about it.
And what's crazy is like when the NAR settlement came out and everyone was freaked out and all the articles were like, realtors get 6%. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think I've ever charged 6% on a listing in my whole life.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Yeah. And I'm like,
5.5.
Yeah. 5.25.
Right.
Yeah. No, but it just then just because the article says that, a lot of the people were like, wait, you're charging 6%, the other people are charging 6%? No. See, you got to break it down. Like education. So when you're working, you guys, TikTok, Instagram, anybody who's listening, when you choose your realtor, just ask them like questions that you might already know the answer to.
Yeah.
And see how they answer and see how personable they are, because they need to be personable. I don't care how good the agent is behind closed doors of whether they know the contract legality wise, all 27 pages. If they can't relate to that other realtor, they're not getting that deal.
Yep.
Right. And so you need a personable realtor, and you'll get your deal. But
that's a great point. There's so much we could get into.
I know. We're probably going for another hour.
Yeah.
Go ahead and let everyone know where they can follow you.
Yeah, you can follow me at Roland_Osage. I think that's both on Instagram and TikTok. And that's all I got for you.
All right, one more question.
Please.
I'll always wrap it up with a segment called Guided Conclusions. And it's a question we kind of didn't talk about before. It's kind of like an always quirky, funny question. Yeah. That question today is, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Would you rather have a skate on 1 foot and walk for the rest of your life, or always be 10 seconds slower behind the person in front of you walking?
10 seconds is quite a bit. I'd have to do it because I wouldn't want to live my life with a
skate. Yeah. Like create back problems. Right.
I mean, that would just be like, what's up with the dude with the skate? Yeah. How am I going to show up first, meet somebody at an appointment? I got a skate on.
You might get somewhere quicker though, because like you just push off like a skateboard though. Right? You know what I mean?
There could be some benefit to it for sure. And there's also some really bad stuff that could come just by walking 10 seconds behind somebody.
Oh yeah.
Because like if I'm I don't know, I just related to meeting somebody at appointments, and like if I'm just walking 10 seconds behind them, like, what the hell's up with this dude? Yeah. Why is he walking 10 seconds behind me?
Tough.
Either way, it's tough.
Yeah.
But I'd rather keep my feet.
Nah, I got you. I think I think I'm gonna do the same.
For sure.
I don't like back problems. Yeah.
All right, enough of those.
Well, you guys heard it here. This is the Misguided Podcast, where we intend to guide you to a better future. Again, my name is Jawan with the Misguided Podcast. We have Roland over here. Make sure you reach out to him, follow his TikTok, watch his videos, because I mean, if my wife watches them, they're pretty good. So I'll see you guys on the other side.
Appreciate you.